Hotep family, you're tuning into the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. Today is going to be a very special podcast because we have Revolutionary live here in the building. And we're going to go over this personality quiz that I was telling you about on Twitter. But before anything else, I'd like you guys, I like Revolutionary Matron to tell you guys hi, and what she's about and like what her name means and where we can find her.
Greetings, everyone. I am the revolutionary matron, and it is about understanding that nothing that we have used in the past serves us appropriately today. So while we don't need to totally and utterly destroy everything, we definitely need to eat the meat and spit out the bones. I am inspired by several Babas, including Dr. John Henrik Clark and Dr. Ben, and of course, Onitaset, who is my brother. and I believe that nothing gets done without a cohesive unit. If we do not organize, then we will not be able to mobilize. So yes, that also means Stokely Carmichael, aka Kwame Ture, is a reference for me. I can be reached on Twitter and Instagram at Revolutionary Matron or Our Matron. And you can follow me, you can chat with me, you can join my discussions. I pose questions and I help make you think. And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and of course, appreciate it. This is my sister from another mister. You already know. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over this. It's 25 questions, and it's just going to be a prompt. Whether a disagree strongly, a disagree a little, neither agree nor disagree, agree a little, or agree strongly. And for each prompt, usually you can click through it, but because you have such a powerful voice, such a prominent and such an intelligent way of looking at things, I would actually entertain that you explain your reasoning for each answer. And then at the end, it's going to quantitate, it's going to do its little calculations, and we'll see what it says. But I mean, can you see the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, so if you can you? I mean, so if you will, can you read the prompt and then explain what your choice would be, and I'll make the selection for you.
Thank you. Having resources leads to having people, not the other way around. That is a true statement outside of organized movement. If you are, and even within organized movements are infiltrated by people with greater resources. And we have several historical examples of that, such as the NAACP. Um, so if you don't have anything to give the people to sustain them day by day, then they will not be able to join your movement in a holistic and authentic way because they don't have anything to sustain on. Hope will only carry them so far. Hope and ideology will only carry them so far.
So yeah, I like that. I like that. What would you say? Agree a little, agree strongly.
I
What would be your
apologize.
choice?
I agree strongly.
Oh, okay, you agree strongly. Yeah, and I appreciate that because the thing is that I think we could actually just discuss it too. I mean, I'll just try to supplement what you say, right? Because anybody could choose any which way they want, but I like that position of how people outside of our community can influence us by the resources, and that's something that we have to bear in mind, and including how we do not how we do not, like, a lot of times when we organize, we try to organize without any resources involved, and that is to our detriment because if outsiders are using that, are using resources and we're not, then we're at a loss. But I absolutely agree. Is there anything else you want to say about that before I click it?
Just that I agree strongly with that.
All right, let's go.
If everyone worked toward African liberation in their own way, we'd be free. I neither agree nor disagree with this because if everyone does it in their own way, it can be effective or it can be ineffective. And that individuality will divide us, and we won't be able to see larger picture. And it actually goes back to the answer to my previous question, which is organization. Because within an organization, if everyone worked toward African liberation in their own way, we'd be free. So I neither agree nor disagree with this.
I love it. Thank you. All right.
When terrorists take hostages, preserving the lives of the hostage has priority over taking the lives of the terrorists. I'm going to disagree strongly with this. Disagree strongly because if you are a terrorist, you have a motive and a motivation, and you cannot let, if you don't have a people, let me start over again. If you don't have a people to fight for, you won't be a people to enjoy the liberation that you have. So if you are participating in terroristic behaviors and activities and decide to take a hostage, that hostage by their very nature has to be used as leverage. And at the point you identify that they're not usable as leverage, you then have to ensure that you can preserve as many of your lives as possible. Okay. And what that means is that sometimes, things that have to be identified as expendable, and my people are less expendable to me than their people.
Wait, sorry, I misunderstood. So, wait, could you repeat that? You said I think because maybe the question's not. Wait,
Okay.
yeah.
The question says when terrorists take hostages. So when terrorists take hostages, preserving the lives of the hostages, the people that have been taken into captivity, has priority over taking the lives of terrorists. And taking the lives of the hostages cannot take priority over, taking the lives of the terrorists, unless your question is meant to mean something different. Because I look at us taking the life, or, the terrorists taking the life of the hostages, or the hostages taking the lives of the terrorists, which means more risk to the people that are trying to move forward.
Okay, all right. So let me actually explain this one. I think I might have wrote it. I'll have to edit that writing, I guess. But it's more like if you're in a hostage and you're in a situation where you're attacking terrorists and the terrorists have hostages, do you want to preserve the lives of the hostages? I mean, you have to take a balance between like taking the lives of, like if like the terrorists could escape if it means the hostages live, or you're not really concerned about the hostages living, you're more so concerned about killing the terrorists.
Okay. So what you're asking me is whether or not I'm willing to be a suicide bomber.
Oh
And
no, not you. Like, let's say if you
not
were.
me, but like in a movement, is a situation appropriate to risk the lives of the people I'm trying to save, versus if that means that the people that took them into bondage get to go free.
Or the people that took them into yeah. So it's like, can you risk? Like, as a nation, should a nation want to negotiate with terrorists in a sense, and save whatever hostages they have, or should a nation pretty much not negotiate with terrorists and say, like what is the top priority in terrorist situations? Is it the saving of a hostage, or is it the killing of the terrorists?
Okay. Um, I'm going, my response to that is that I then agree little, and just depends on the power dynamic present. Because historically, for us, what has happened is that there have been rebellions, and during those rebellions, they would unfortunately extinguished the lives of those that led them. Okay, like Nat Turner, Gabriel. There are lots of different examples of how they handled those things, and they handled them with complete and utter disregard. So I'm going to say that I agree a little that it is more important to preserve the lives of the hostages versus pursuing pursuing and taking the lives of the terrorists. I agree a little that, um, but we have to look at the fact that we are more humane. And when you're negotiating with them, you have to adequately put into context what leverage you and what power you have. Because if you let them go, Hitler marched in Germany 3 years before he came into power, you know, and so much, even in American culture, so much revolutionary movements come from the Caribbeans because at the point that it became too expensive to extinguish the threat, they sent them downriver.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like Bitter Medicine's in the building. He says, greetings, KWT Radio family. 5 people watching equals 5 likes. So he's saying get those likes up. Uh, but yeah, actually, yeah, exactly. Oh, so you said agree a little, right? All right. So that was
I
good. That
agree
was
a
great.
little.
All right. So here's the next question.
All right. It is better to study trades and money making than languages and historical events. I neither agree nor disagree with this premise because you need both of them and you need both of them at an equal pacing. Because if you don't have any skills, okay, and you don't understand how money works, you can know all the history that you want and you can speak a million languages. You will not be empowered liberate yourself or your people. You can know all the trades and understand the money making skills that you want, but you'll get cheated every time because you can't communicate with the people that you're trying to trade with. Again, going back to a historical context of these things, many people dealt with these people in trade, and it is trading with them that opened the doorway to the transatlantic slave trade. Misunderstandings, transliterations, um, people perceiving, because from my cultural perspective, I'm going to perceive your behavior one way, even though you mean it another way. And then I'm going to act on my perception because we don't have a common language. So those two, I neither agree nor disagree with this. Those two things need to be at equal pacing when you're dealing with a global nation building scenario.
That those are facts. I do want to speak to that like how in Africa, once upon a time. Oh yeah, when the Eurasians came and they offered like wine and beer and alcohol for land use, the I guess the Europeans understood it as for land, and they were like, "What suckers! I can't believe they gave us land for alcohol." But the Africans allegedly understood it as, yeah, you could use that land, for like you could use that land for 5 years or something if that's what you want to do, or if you could have access to the mines for 5 years as opposed to owning it outright. So it's as you said, if you don't understand the language, if you don't understand the historical events, then and the thing is that we have to know about African, like our ancestors in Africa, was how they were actually master tradespeople. You know,
Yes.
so it's like it's a matter of, hey, well, yeah, you can master trades, but you don't know the people that you're trading with at all. You know, um,
Two things on that subject matter. One of the things that I was always told as a child that the biggest brain drain and the reason, one of the many reasons Africa's had such a hard time redeveloping itself is because the transatlantic slave trade was the biggest brain drain. And our understanding of hospitality as leaders and as royalty is very different because there are journals where Eurasians came over and they perceived the gifting of women and um, and some of the ways in which they were allowed to lay with concubined women in African societies and culture as an expression of promiscuity, but it was really a show of hospitality.
Oh, jeez, huh? But all right, look here. So oh yeah, let me just do some. Like I said, the comments. Organic African paradigm. That's Scully. He says the one who comes in peace is always welcome. The one who comes to learn is always welcome. Positive and creation energy to you, brother. So just reading off some of the comments. So you said neither agree nor disagree, right?
Correct.
Okay.
War should start when peace is unprofitable, and peace should start when war is unprofitable. War and peace are phenomena for profit. No, I disagree strongly with this. Um, because, especially for a transition team, okay? We are always at war. You are always at war over resources with people, because when you are in power and when you control something, just like the competitiveness of a capitalistic market, there are always startups coming to take your place and position. You are always at war. War is a posture and a way of being based on how we have had to interact with these other people, these Eurasian influences. So, since we understand that there are all these diverse people in the earth, we have to assert war and war strategies, excuse me, and war strategies as a way of being when we are outside of our nation and when we are dealing with people as a nation.
Excellent answer, sister. All right. We're gonna keep going.
Having something to fight for is better than having something to fight with. I neither agree nor disagree with this. You need both of those things. When you have something to fight for and nothing to fight with, you're asking for destruction because you're constantly in a state of mental chaos, because either you're acting and reacting to the thing that you want to fight for all the time. And when you have something to fight with but nothing to fight for, then you become malevolent, and you develop a depraved sense of indifference when it comes to dealing with people and others. So I neither agree nor disagree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Having something to fight for versus having something to fight with. Yeah. As you said, it's important to have both. But of course, people at home, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what you think. So if you think otherwise, you have a chance to take this quiz as well. I mean, obviously, I'd have to do it for you at the moment, but I think it's going to be pretty helpful. But as far as this is, you said neither agree nor disagree, and that's a good way to look at it. Bitter Medicine says this is a cool concept. Asante Sana, brother.
Mhm. Asante Sana. Leveraging social media for mass mobilization is a highly worthwhile pursuit. I strongly disagree with it being a highly worthwhile pursuit. Um, no, I apologize. I disagree a little with it being a highly worthwhile pursuit, because if you use and leverage social media for mass mobilization, which can be effective, you then put in control of your mass mobilization something you don't have control of. So,
Snap, snap,
um,
snap.
so if you give control over your mass mobilization to something you're not 100% in control of, then you then allow for others to pervert or stop your mass mobilization.
That's facts. Uh, you know, like again, like anybody could go either way with this kind of answer, but so I'm just going to just say something that agrees with you regardless. Because this is your interview, not mine, right? This is your quiz, not mine. But yeah, like you said, anybody could just or even the example of certain countries just cutting off social media, and this happens all the time. So it's just, or just cutting off the internet, period. So it's just a matter of, like how vulnerable you are when your tools are in somebody else's hand. And I think I gave the example in an earlier podcast, might have been the last podcast, but there was an example of, what would it be like if England and Germany were at war, and like, let's say England produced the radios for Germany, then wouldn't, like, then obviously England would win, So it's just a matter of, particularly at this day and age where most of the social media is like run by Wazungu. It's like, well, you kind of put it all in his hands. But
Not only that, but we have to look at some of the technological developments and evolutions that allowed them to create characters and personalities that look like people, but are and sound like people, but are either not people, not those people, and a perverted perspective of what it is
mm-hmm.
and who it is you're interacting with. So that's my predominant reason as to why I don't think it's highly effective.
All right. Oh, you talking about like social media farms where they uh like they have robots and all that kind of stuff just pushing
Just
narratives.
generate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
videos of like just people with like maybe like 30, 40 phones, and they're all like generating political content and making things viral and retweeting and and they're just doing it off of like just computer programs, just essentially programming the masses. So everything
It's
can happen that kind of way. Yeah, definitely.
not only that, but like, okay, even in like a Facebook news feed, right? Because Facebook is the one that we have the most observations of. If you have searched something on your device, over the next 24 hours, there will be a group created, okay, that is relevant to that search that will show up in your suggestions.
Oh yeah, that's facts. I could actually, like lay in bed and be like, man, I wish I had an extra pillow, and then I wake up, look at my phone, it's like pillows for sale. I'm just teasing, but that might be the case in the future. Like you never quite know. I don't know if you heard that. There's this Google pizza joke. It's a pretty funny joke, but maybe I'll look it up and tell it sometime. But anyway, you said disagree a little, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The general of many books will best the general of many battles. I I neither agree nor disagree with this statement. And actually, I would say that I agree a little. I agree a little with this statement. And the reason that I agree a little with this statement is because a man of war, while he may change and evolve over time, a man of book learning, knowledge, and education that implements war has the ability to see further down the battle and into the war than the man of war, because the man of many battles has not evolved his mindset to strategies for all scenarios. And when you open a book, you open up the world of battles and wars and strategies to yourself. So you're able to change tactics quicker, you're able to adapt to the scenario quicker, and you're able to plan. It's like saying, is a chess player, which person would you rather have on your team, a chess player or a checkers player? And so I agree a little with this.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I don't know. I kind of feel like telling this Google joke though. Uh,
Yeah, tell the Google joke. We need to laugh.
all right, let's go. Let's go. So let's see how it is. Let's say. All right. So it's called Google's Pizza. It says, hello, Gordon's Pizza. No, sir. It's Google's Pizza. So it's a wrong number. No, sir. Google bought it. Okay, take my order, please. Well, sir, you want the usual? The usual? You know me? According to our caller ID, in the last 12 times you ordered pizza with cheese, sausage, thick crust. Okay, this is it. May I suggest you this time ricotta, arugula with dried tomato? What? I hate vegetables. Your cholesterol is not good. How do you know? Through the subscriber's guide, we have the results of your blood test for the last 7 years. Okay, but I do not want this pizza. I already take medicine. And it's like, you have not taken the medicine regularly 4 months ago. Well, no, you're not taking the medicine regularly. 4 months ago, you only purchased a box with 30 tablets at Drug Sales Network. I bought more from another drugstore. It's not showing on your credit card. I paid in cash, but you did not withdraw that much according to your bank statement. I have other sources of cash. That is not showing as per your last tax form unless you bought from bought them from undeclared income source. And he's like, what the hell? And he's like, enough. I'm sick of Google, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. I'm going to an island without internet where there's no cell phone line and no one to spy on me. I understand, sir, but you need to renew your password as it expired 5 weeks ago. Anyway, that's it's just yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a joke, right? But about 9 or 12 years ago, there was a young lady who had been using her parents' Target card to buy things, and Target auto generated congratulations, you're pregnant test. And she really was pregnant and she was underage and she hadn't told her parents. And they had analyzed her purchases over time to determine that she was pregnant, and they sent her that kit. And so that's absolutely the world that we live in. And we've lived in that world for a while. Privacy is an illusion. Privacy, autonomy, all of those things are illusions.
Shit. No. But yeah, I kind of wish I told the joke better, but it's hard when it's like a dialogue. But all right, you said agree a little to the general of many books, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The voices of the powerless can outweigh the voices of the powerful. It depends on what your power is. If you are utterly powerless, then you have no voice, you have no resource, you have nothing. Okay. And your voice doesn't speak. So I'm going to say that I disagree a little with this, because if you inherently have power and you are in a dynamic where power is inherently necessary and you inherently are powerless, then you then have to develop other tools to create power so that you can outweigh the oppressive situation.
All right, I like it. Well, so let me just read the comments a little bit. Organic African Paradigm says, great conversation going on here. The sister is excellent, 100, 100, and he's speaking facts. And of course, Bitter Medicine podcast, he actually liked the joke, even though I didn't tell it right. But, you guys can look up Google's pizza. Okay, you said what?
I said I like the joke too. It's a funny joke because it's like, as you just called to order a pizza from your regular pizza place, and then everything else in your life is connected in a way that you don't see and understand. And now they're trying to force you to consume something that may be good for you, but it's not what you want. And that's what I mean by your ability to exert personal autonomy. This is hearing more
I
and more
should.
every day.
And people are underestimating that too. I want people to realize that for Google, if you've been using Google for like the last decade, like most of us have been or whatever, it has everything you searched, and if you're using Chrome, everything you've done on the internet since for the last decade. So things that you forgot, things that you were into, whatever you were into 10 years, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, it has everything. And you can look it up because, on Google, you have this, like you can go to Google activity and just scroll down and if you want, you could see the different, you could search for things that you search for. Cause sometimes I might forget like a website that I went to and then I'm like, oh yeah, I think I searched it on Google. And then I would just look up and be like, there it is. There's that website I forgot about, that about Marcus Garvey's or whatever. But the point is that they have this record. Now, you could allegedly delete it, but You're probably just deleting it for yourself, you know?
That's
You know what I
exactly
mean?
what I was gonna say. That is
I mean,
exactly what I was gonna say. You know, like when we clear our browser or we go back and we think they allege to have a process, okay, that requires you to mail stuff in that I heard about in the UK. I haven't heard about it here in the States where you can ask them to purge your file. But I haven't heard about that here in the States. And like you said, you're deleting it for yourself, not the remnants that they know and understand about you. They have been studying us since we understood that there was an us.
dang. All right. So you said for this one was disagree a little or agree a little? I can't remember. Uh,
I agree a little.
the
That
voice of the powerless
the
can. Oh
yeah.
yeah, the voice of the powerless can outweigh.
The,
Okay, agree a little. All right.
yeah. A nation that builds homes for its people will prosper more than a nation that builds guns. I agree a little with this. People enjoy the illusion of comfort. And when you build homes for people instead of guns, then they have the illusion of comfort. However, those two things need to be on par. And if they are not on par with each other, you're building homes and guns to protect your homes because you live in a state of war, then you know, your prosperity will be limited and it will be taken away. And we have examples like Tulsa, we have examples like Rosewood, we have examples like Black Bottom. So we have several examples of where people at war with us, and we did not understand the dynamics of their war. Okay, like you say in the book of Power, make good war. We have not made good war in a historical perspective because we would build homes and we would create industry and we would do different things, but we would not then defend it.
Hey, Book of Power shout out. uh, so one thing people might not know is that this is I had a song called "Build a Home" or "Build a Gun." It was like a rap battle that was kind of interesting. Yeah. Also, just a heads up to everybody. At the end, I'm going to recommend 3 books for every result you can get. I'm going to recommend 3 different books, but one of them is always going to be the Book of Power because I'm that kind of guy. You know, I I listened to. I think it was somebody linked me Bill Gates. Oh yeah, in the Discord, somebody linked Bill Gates and this lady. She's like this famous actress. They had like a podcast together, and Bill Gates was advertising his Microsoft Teams. You know, and the lady pointed out how this guy's like one of the richest people on the planet, and he's like just dropping his product whenever he can. So it's like, hey, why not? That's what you're supposed to do. If he does it, why not? But you said agree a little.
Agree a little
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
because you have a more comfortable, you have a more comfortable citizenry when you build homes, and that goes back to them having resources. Okay, and that's one of the first steps. But so I agree a little that they will prosper, but they won't be able to hold on to that prosperity. They won't be able to progress beyond that because it's always vulnerable because you did not build God.
yeah, exactly. I want people to understand too that and a right, like I said, no right or wrong answers. Somebody could easily say they disagree a little, and give a good reason. Somebody could say they agree a little and give a good reason. Someone could say agree strongly or neither agree or disagree strongly. There's no right answer, and that's why it's like a personality test. So if you're sitting at home and you're saying to yourself, "Dang, I would have said otherwise," that's great. Try it out, and you could get your own result as well. But agree a little, right? Okay.
Instead of petitioning the state, a community should solve its own problems, arrest its own criminals, repair its own roads, and teach its own languages. Okay. I pause because it really depends on what I'm giving to the state. Okay. In a reality where I am property of the state, because we all are. I am obligatorily and without without any recourse from the state. I would disagree strongly with this. But in a society where I am autonomous and I have agency over myself, I would agree strongly with this. So I neither agree nor disagree with this, because the reality that we live in dictates that we don't have enough power within ourselves to make those types of decisions. However, I do believe that community policing is necessary. With regard to repairing its own roads, well, we don't necessarily have the infrastructure and or resource to do something like that, because if we repaired our own roads, what's to prevent them from then making that a major commerce thoroughfare for them that does not benefit us? And teaching its own languages, every family, I cannot stress this enough, every family should have a complementary curriculum that they are teaching in their homes that gives their children empowerment.
Ashe.
If they are not, then contact Bitter Medicine Podcast and get on the team. Contact
Ashe.
Black Perspective and get on the team.
Ashe. All right. So you said neither agree nor disagree. All right. I mean, I would say probably like vote. I mean, pick a choice according to where you're at right now. But if that's where you're at, then I could choose it. Like, but what? So you want to do neither agree nor disagree?
Yeah, I want to say agree nor disagree,
Okay.
because that the way that works, any state that kills its citizens should itself be killed. Any state. I strongly agree with that, because if you're killing citizens, I strongly agree that any state that kills its citizens should itself be killed. Because if a person is an actual citizen of
Watch
your
out, America.
state, exactly, that is, if a person is an actual citizen of the state, then there are behaviors, there are rights and privileges, there is an agreement of what everyone gets and what everyone does and what everyone should and should not do. And so if this is not talking about America, but any state that kills its citizens should itself be killed. I strongly agree with that.
All right, that's facts. So I'm a bookman. Came through. She said greetings, family. So greetings, everybody. Bitter Medicine says get on the team with red, black, and green hearts. So guess he liked that comment. All right, so you said agree strongly. Hold on.
The earth cannot be saved, then all races must come together and populate another planet. Oh. um, I can agree a little with that. I can agree a little with that, because if you have all races coming together to populate another planet, that takes us back to a black world, first of all, just genetically speaking. And second of all, you have an opportunity to filter out. They always talk about wanting to drain the swamp and things like that. You have an opportunity to filter out the book that talks about 400 years of hidden history in America. I don't want to say the name of the book. I'll have to look up the name of the author momentarily. But
Is that Claude Anderson?
no, it's not by Claude Anderson. It's actually by a Eurasian author. But it talks about, in the story Uncle Tom's Cabin, there was Mr. Hadley, and Mr. Hadley was like a rough person, I believe. And then there was another man that was probably more refined, and it dealt with two ideological approaches to the slave trade, one that was quote unquote this gentle institution that was just peculiar, and one that was like, this is a beast of burden in the field, and I'm going to beat him and sell him up and down river, this, that, and the other. And those people have a heritage, and you have an opportunity to filter out the filth of you have an opportunity to filter things if that were a decision. But you would have to be involved in the decision making process. You would have to make rational decisions, like do we let Bezos and Gates and Musk go as representatives because they were quote unquote successful in this paradigm? Or do we find people that are actually of character and quality so that we are building, throwback from my childhood, a more just and verdant world?
So you said agree a little?
Agree a little.
I'm Bit of Medicine is putting the thumbs down. Organic African Paradigm is saying your races will only destroy the other planets. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't got a comment, but luckily,
I can definitely understand that.
yeah, luckily this question's it's just a question. It's not even All right, so you said agree a
No, but
little,
I
right?
mean, but let me say this. If I had, if they, because what we're assuming, which is actually what's true.
Organic says history repeats itself when we don't learn. But yeah, go on. What were you saying?
And I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Okay. History does repeat itself when we don't learn. Um, and but I also agree with and understand is that if we don't have any power when that decision is made, then my answer to this question becomes strongly disagree. Okay. But if we get into a position where we have power, then the compassionate and appropriate ideological humane thing in my mind to do is to agree a little, because I can see where there would be need and purpose, but they may not even be best suited for another environment because they're not as adaptable as we are. That's why I said it would be a black world, because of our level of adaptability to different environments.
No, I understand. I mean, yeah, I look. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer, especially for this question. This question is just it's just an extra question. It's not even I wouldn't even take it too seriously. No, this question. I mean, like for the mathematics of it all, it's just it's just an extra question. Because I had 24 questions and I was like, okay, let's make it 25. But this is not even. It's I shouldn't tell anybody that, but yeah, this is not even. All right, so let's say agree a little.
When family safety is the concern, wealth is the greatest security one can gift their family. That's not that I disagree with that a little. Um, Wealth is a gift that you can give your family that provides some security. But when you're dealing with what we're dealing with day in and day out, wealth that is generated and created is easily transferred back into the Eurasian self cycle. Okay. So, what's more important is are the skills, the education, the knowledge, the mindset, the mentality, the physical training, the safety training, the weapons training. There are other things that are more important than just wealth. It's often said, oh, if I made $1 million, I can make another million. Well, that is, even in the Eurasian world, indicative of this cycle that wealth attracts the money back to itself. Okay. And if we only transfer wealth with no skills and no education, then that wealth won't be there very long. So I strongly disagree. I strongly disagree with that being the greatest security that they can give their family.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Of course, everybody is entitled to anything, but that's a good point in the sense of there are people who have money and then they have it in one year and then and then 2 years, they don't. You know what I mean? But there's also people who have money, and in 10 years they got more. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's more to it, and it's really just like I said. You said you disagree a little, and that's good enough for me.
A multi-ethnic nation cannot decide on one official African language, but can decide on one official Eurasian language. And it's better to fracture than to cede an official language to Eurasians. I'm going to, when you say fracture, let me start here. When you say fracture, do you mean the nation itself fractures? Like, is that where we're going? Because that's how I interpret this question.
Yeah,
That's how I interpret
yeah.
this
The
question.
nation. So if the nation, if it's like a multi-ethnic nation, and they cannot decide on one language between them all, because they all have a different language, right? But they can say, okay, let's speak, Portuguese or something, right?
English or right.
Yeah. And they say they can. So it's like, will it be better for the nation to say, you know what, we can't agree on our own language, right? Or on an African language. So let's split up. Or would it be better to just say, you know what, Portuguese is good enough?
All right, I'm going to strongly disagree with this question. That was how I thought I understood it. Because the unity of the nation state as a whole and its ability to amass its resources against an invader is more important than acquiescing to or descending into tribal groups. That division amongst us as a people is something that I think has harmed us in the past. I think that at some point, I think African leaders have made that decision in the past where it's like, oh no, this is my language. We're not going to all speak this language or that language. There is a language of commerce that we must speak and understand. And there should be a language of community that we should speak and understand. And if we have a language of commerce and we have a language of community, then I think we'll be able to hold the nation together. Um, I think about it in regards to you can go to 4 different places in America right now, and Coney Island means different things to different people.
Say Coney Island?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So
Because I'm in the Midwest, and a Coney Island is a hot dog.
oh, it's a hot dog. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I thought it was a city, but you're right. I mean, I thought it was like I don't know what I thought it was, but like a town. I don't know. I think it was a
Right,
park.
exactly.
I got
Yeah.
you
If
though.
you're on the East Coast, you think of Coney. Your primary reference for Coney Island is the place. If you're on the East Coast, I'm in the Midwest. The Coney Island is a hot dog, and it's a hot dog usually with like chili and mustard and onions. If you go further south, Coney Island. Well, my cousins call a Coney Island something else that's kind of perverse, but like Coney Island means different
What?
things amongst people in this country. You know what I mean?
What? I think somebody rewinding right now. Like, wait, what? What was a Coney? Like, don't Google it, all right, guys.
Yeah, don't
You know,
Google it.
or your next pizza order is gonna be messed up.
Exactly. It's gonna mess it all up.
So wait a second. So, oh yeah, what I was gonna say was, so you said disagree strongly, right? So,
Yes.
so instead of watch out Nigeria, I think Nigeria is like, giving you the thumbs up. They're like, yeah.
All men, without exception, between 20 and 30 should serve in a Pan African military. If they survive, they can study or practice trades after 30. Um, I don't like the causality of this question. I strongly agree with the initial part of it, so I'm going to strongly agree with the entire premise of it. There's something I recently found out. African mystery schools had you as an apprentice or studying until you were 40 years old or 42 years old, like so and it varies depending on what source you use as a reference, because it would be 42 because of the loss of my yacht and things like that. But and they learned everything during that time, and they were equipped and able to go out during that time if the need arose. You cannot be so um you cannot be so literacy minded that you do not address the concerns of the nation. Your military training has to come first. You know, like you have guys that, like, even when their sons are young in the African American community, where they're teaching them how to punch and how to take a punch and things like that. Around about 16, that's when daddy got to sit there and blow his chest out, you know, just to let him know you get your weight up, you know. But
All right, that sounds
I,
okay.
well, in the culture that I come from, again, I'm in the Midwest. We do things differently. Like, I was the first girl among a group of boys, and so I remember the boys used to go outside and they used to square off. Like, if they had a disagreement with one another, they would go outside and box. But they had been taught to box since they were like 4 or 5 years old. They knew martial arts. There were different skills that they learned. So, without exception, they should all serve in the Pan African military. Period. At stop. Um, if they survive, they should study or practice trades after 30. I think that should just, they should practice trades, you know, after 30, because they're studying for military as well as working in the trades, go hand in hand. Because there are some very unique things that you can learn from studying trades along the way, like, you know, how to you reflect light and create fires, and how to um, service your fellow man, you know, in regards to military warfare and things like that. Like, if you go into the military and you haven't learned how the different herbs and medicines work, you're you're a you're a front lineman, but when they need, you know, in the field healing, you're not effective. You know what I mean? You may be in a situation where you need to build a barrack or build a shelter. And if you haven't learned that practical skill or trade over that time while you were training to be in the military, you're not effective. So, a comprehensive Pan African education would do both of those things. But because I strongly agree with the first part of this without necessarily the causality, I'm just going to say strongly agree.
All right, that sounds good. And for those of you at home, notice that I put down 30, as I said, between 20 and 30, because I'm over 30, so I don't really care how this goes. You know what I mean? I don't care one way or the next. I only put the if they survive to, put a sort of risk into it.
Well, you know,
I
the Zulu had a hierarchy where, depending on your age and what type of service you did, you know, you would be eligible for a wife, or else you would, you know, you might just be continuing to train. Well, you're not eligible for a wife. You might be a low ranking man in the military. You're eligible for one type of wife, and you might be a high ranking man where you're eligible for a different type of wife. The warriors get the best women.
Hey, all right. I mean, I'll keep that in mind. But what was I gonna say? I don't know. When you said something about beating up a 16-year-old, I was thinking about my kid, and I'm like, sure, I don't think this guy could handle it, but I guess he's not 16 yet, so hopefully he might be. He might. I mean, let's hope I can I stay ahead of him by the time he's 16. 'Cause I'm not gonna be taught that I need to get my weight up. But all right, agree strongly. And again, like I said, anybody could anything could go either way. So that's it. Agree strongly. Oh, by the way, wait, sorry, before you go, yeah, everybody, I just wanted to remind everybody, we're talking to Revolutionary Matron. I put her YouTube channel in the description, so make sure you go and check it out. Sis is powerful, as you can tell, so make sure you subscribe and all that, and click the notification. And of course, you can subscribe to my channel, and of course, if you wanted to do an interview like this, you're more than welcome. Oh, and if you guys want, you could do like what Bitter Medicine did, put a thumbs up or a thumbs down if if you want to have a say in how you feel about this question. But or the question, and maybe if you want to do a strongly agree or strongly disagree, you can put double thumbs up, double thumbs down, if you want to. But otherwise, let's go. I mean, obviously that won't work for the math that the app does, but just if you want to, have extra commentary, you can do that. But sorry, you could go on, Revolutionary Patron.
Colonized people should focus more on a political club than an economic club. I disagree strongly with this. without an economy under you, then the political system will not respond to you. Shout out to Dr. Claude Anderson, Get Your Mind Right, Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth. If you don't, and this goes back to resources. If you don't have resources to take care of your people, none of the systems of power, none of the people will be loyal, because there are basic needs that people have that they are trying to get met, that you can't meet them. Someone else that can meet those needs will lure them away from you or turn them against you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Sorry about that. I forgot to press the button. But yeah, okay. So you said, what were you say? You said strongly disagree?
Yes.
Okay, disagree strongly. Yeah, I mean, look, like you said, like I said, anybody can go either way. Son of Olodumare says, excellent discussion, fam. So of course we gotta appreciate you for having us have that discussion. All right.
Victory in war should be absolute and total. Salt the farms, bomb the mines, burn the libraries, destroy the factories, kill the men, women, and children. You may never get reparations or resources for your costs, but at least you'll never have to pay for another war with that enemy. Victory in war, I'm going to agree strongly with I'm going to agree a little.
Daniel.
I'm going to and the thing about that is this. The only thing that I have that is contrary to this is that war is ongoing. Okay? Victory is just a victory, or a perceived victory is just another phase of war. So you have to have a protective stance against the resources that you have. You have to be able to destroy the ideology that led to war, but understand that you may have destroyed that enemy. You may have, because that's what they did with us, that you may have destroyed that enemy. You may have eradicated that history. You may have done things to annihilate the threat as it is. But if you do not take a war protective posture, then you set yourself up to be preyed upon again. And you have to always be mindful of that.
Okay, yeah. All right. So you said agree a little. Okay. All right. I mean, sure. Yeah, that was like sure. And by the way, I used to only have kill the men, but I guess you raised the objection that I didn't include women or children, so I was like, you know what? Let's kill the women and children too.
Okay, and opposed to any of those. The only thing that I am opposed to is the word victory, because victory is a stage of war.
I feel you. I feel you. So you said
right.
Okay. All right. So
instead of victory, I would use the word success of war should be told, and everything else I would agree with, because it's necessary.
Damn, Daniel. There's this actually I think this was inspired by this I guess it's in the I haven't read the Bible, the European Bible, but I know I'm assuming you read it, right? But
absolutely.
Yeah, there's this part where they say something similar, which is I can't remember what book it is, like I think Isaiah or something, but or I don't know what it was, but it's something along the lines of like kill the men, women, and children and burn their farm.
God cursed them. No, God cursed the people of the Eurasian Bible for not doing that, because they wanted to carry away the women and children and the plunder of the land.
Yeah, exactly. So this is actually like based off of that question, because I just thought it was a interesting concept. So I was like, yeah, let's see how people think, but agree a little. Now, of course, I don't agree with the Bible at all, so I was just like, you know what? But but I mean, it's what it is. You should agree a little. Okay, all right.
There are times when adopting the values of your enemies is better than maintaining your own. There are times, I'm gonna have to read that one more time, you guys. I'm sorry. There are times when adopting the values of your enemies is better than maintaining your own. I'm going to agree a little because espionage is necessary.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why we need pure and authentic healers, both male and female, to process our people out of those ways. We kind of sort of touched on that in a previous discussion when you were talking about the men. What was it in worship when you were talking about things that were necessary for people to do? We had kind of mentioned, you had kind of mentioned something about that, but espionage is necessary. And if you understand and believe that espionage is a necessary tactic, not overall strategy, does not guarantee victory, then I would agree a little with that.
Okay. All right. Agree a little. Bit of medicine on the last point. The one about the military says blow them out. So there you go. You said agree a little. Yeah, espionage is really important. If people are not familiar with Sun Tzu's Art of War. Like I think he has like a whole chapter on espionage. It is one of the most important parts of warfare. And just to remind people at home too that this quiz actually only takes about 10 minutes. But Revolutionary Matron has so much insight that I just wanted you guys to hear it as well. And so we're kind of taking our sweet time here. But yeah, agree a little, right?
Yeah, guys, it's only 25 questions. I just talk a lot because I keep talking until we get to the point of understanding.
This is the next question.
Physical institutions will always be preferable to digital institutions. I agree strongly with that. And the most recent and relevant example I have is that I have a digital subscription to Britannica Online, which is, yes, a Eurasian source. I have a lot of other sources that I talk to you guys about on my show. Shout out to, check out my channel. But
Check it
in
out.
the but in the Britannica.com, Juneteenth used to be listed with a more African centered perspective about what it was, what it meant. It had more historical pictures and documents. And when they were passing the legislation, after that announcement came, that page became unavailable and they repopulated it with something more modern, more commercial, that was more indicative of likening Juneteenth as far as visually to carnival or to a big party versus the actual meaning of it. And I have whole challenges with Juneteenth and the way that we're allowing them to commercialize it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean that's how it is. I remember, in fact, like I said before about my Google history or whatever. I remember at one point, Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey was available as a text file online, and I wanted to just like rip, like keep it, preserve it, because what happened was that website is gone, and so at first I was like, wow, somebody, because I think it was like some black guy who had the website, somebody typed up that whole book, which was like 500 something pages, and put it online free of charge. And even doing that, all of it's gone. And you can't imagine how long it takes somebody to transcribe 500 pages of Marcus Garvey with the page notes and all that, and it's gone. And I remember like a few years later, some people in South Africa were saying that they wanted like a PDF of Marcus Garvey's book, and I just couldn't find this PDF. And before anybody says that there is a PDF, there isn't. The PDF, the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, is like 16 pages, but the book itself is 500 something pages. So I definitely think somebody should scan it and make it more available. Because I said people in South Africa were asking me for it a few years back, but all the same, yeah, digital can be replaced.
And not only that, but that's just another instrument of them colonizing knowledge and information, going back to you can have control of a physical institution. A digital institution you can be cut off from at any point in time.
Yeah, they just press a delete key, and it's gone. All your work. But I mean, of course, the two other people I've done this with, they've disagreed. So, it's not like there's no right or wrong answer. There's always going to be like this. It's just you could just answer however you want. KWAZ Radio says the talking is good. We are here for it. So he's saying, take your sweet time because we appreciate it, right? But anyway, so agree strongly, right?
Yes.
All right.
Invest in a gun, then invest in a book. I agree strongly with that ideology. However, that's for myself because I invested in books first. So um, I'm going to agree a little with that because, yeah, I'm going to agree a little with that because you need to understand how to use the gun, when to use the gun, things like that. There are a lot of instances where people have unfortunately not understood how and when to use a gun because knowledge can be powerful, but if you can't again protect it, then you know it doesn't serve you. So I'm gonna agree a little. So I'm gonna go, navy blue. But yeah, invest in a gun, then invest in a book.
I don't know these colors, but okay. I'm just going. These colors are chosen at random. I don't know, but you said agree a little. I got you. Navy blue.
A nation should decide how free the press should be. Ooh, that is an interesting perspective because from the perspective of the oppressor, you must strongly agree with this. From the perspective of the oppressed within a nation, you must strongly disagree with this. So I shall neither agree nor disagree with this because, again, they do decide how free our press is. And we know that. And we do and should create protracted propaganda campaigns, which are information dissemination campaigns and resources, so that we're able to combat all of the negative propaganda and cultural misunderstandings that have happened about our culture and about who we are and why we do the things that we do. An example of that is when I was a little girl, I was always called fast because I walked with a twist. Okay, now I didn't walk with a strong twist; it was just my hip sway.
All right now.
But I was always told that I was being fast, and so I was made to walk more straight, more militarized, more automated. And that actually turned my spine because I wasn't going to the chiropractor. I was just walking straight. And it took years as an adult of chiropractic care to realign my spine and to get my natural walk back. And I talked to my chiropractor because I have this built-in ideology about how I'm supposed to walk and how I'm supposed to be because of the messaging I got. And he's like, no, you're supposed to walk that way based on your body proportions and things like that and the way that you look. You're supposed to walk with a little sway. It's not like you're a board. And so we need to create our own press. I neither agree nor disagree with this question because it depends on which level of power you have. As the powerful nation or as a benevolent nation, then I can strongly agree with this. But as a part of the oppressed people, as a part of the people that have been colonized, I would strongly disagree with this because if they had control of the press and we couldn't get our messages out there, then no one would ever understand or know our plight.
All right. But just a note for all the ladies out there: make sure you swing your hips when you're walking. You're doing yourself a favor. Okay. What did they say? It's not. Wait, how do they say it again? It's like. Well, I think one thing you would shout at a woman is. well, I don't do this catcalling, but I think one of them is, would you like some fries with that shake? Or I think the other one was, I think something about jelly and jam. No, it's like what is the one with the jelly and jam?
Must be jelly. It must be jelly because jam don't shake like that.
Yeah, there you go. I don't do the catcalling, but now I'll advise women, hey, you got to swing your hips more when you're walking.
You
So
do. You do. There's a natural way
yeah,
that your body
share it,
goes.
share the message, share the message. I think women need to hear this, right?
Destroying your enemy's institutions is worth more than building your own. I'm going to disagree a little with this. And the reason I disagree a little with this is because without something to, if you don't spend any time building up your own institutions while you're destroying your enemy's institutions, you'll become a people lost and chaotic. I think about Trump supporters, okay? Black Trump supporters. And the reason I bring them up is because the Democratic Party abandoned Black people a long time ago. This is not a political statement. This is just an observation, okay? Because neither the political party neither the Republican Party nor the Democratic Party serve us as a community, okay? But we voted for Lincoln for decades. We voted for the Republicans for decades because of the messaging and propaganda that went out about what they thought Abraham Lincoln did. And we voted for Democrats for decades and generations because of what we thought Lyndon B. Johnson did for us. And so we have to understand that if we're not building our own institutions, we will become a people lost, wound up in the muck and the mire in a chaotic state. I disagree a little with this because it is not more important to destroy their institutions than building our own, but we must at all costs, even if we don't build our own, destroy their institutions. But we must do those things at the same time, which goes back to curriculum in your home and teaching your children a curriculum in the home to compensate for what they will not be taught and are not taught inside of the Eurasian educational system that we are subjected to. Homeschool your kids. Contact Bitter Medicine Podcast. Get on the team, y'all. Get on the team.
The team. So I'm a bookman says sure, and I think, and a smiley face, and I think she's talking about swinging the hips. So I think you converted a lady towards, saving her own spine. So, props to you for that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, let's see. Disagree a little. All right.
The focus of Pan-African unity should be handled at the government level among the politicians, leaders, and elites, not the grassroots level among the voters, masses, and commoners. I disagree with this strongly because in an either or scenario, nobody's going to win. We can filter up from the grassroots a member of the proletariat, a member of the leadership and or the elite and or the politicians or the political class. But the mind shift has to come from the grassroots. So I disagree strongly with this question, with this statement.
You said you disagree. I thought you said, okay, so you disagree strongly with the focus should be handled at the government level, not the. So you disagree. You believe that it should be handled at the grassroots level. Speaking of which, organic African paradigm. He says enjoying this conversation. I feel like that's what he would say as well, because he, like I said, he has his own podcast. He has his own system, everything, and he emphasizes the grassroots, knowledge that too as well. So you said disagree strongly, right?
Yes.
Okay, if you want to speak a little more on that,
Well, one of the problems that we've had amongst our politicians, leaders, and elites is that they've been trained by our enemies. And even when we think that they're speaking on behalf of our best interest, the ultimate goal is the best interest of someone that seeks to oppress us. When you are in the trenches every day and you exist on this planet as a Black person, as an African person that has an African mind, intuition, genetic knowledge and understanding, and organic reasoning about things. You see things from the everyday level. You understand the things that are going to impact your people. But if you have a group of trained as Ascari, that's what they are, because they unfortunately are not going to serve your interests. We can take a person from the grassroots and we can cultivate them and send them up through the annals of quote unquote established power. And we have the ability to let them negotiate, but at no point should they be independent operating agents that are not representative of the voters, the masses, and the commoners, because the commoners are the people. And if you don't stay in touch with the people, you won't have a people.
Shay. So like I said, that's what I like about these kind of things. A long time ago, I did interview. I mean, I did like a questionnaire thing, and then I evaluated it. And actually, that's part of the inspiration for the chapters in Zubiri. Right. So my first book was Zubiri. My first published book was Zubiri, but part of the inspiration was to address the different questions that I was asking of the people and so on and so forth. But I just that's the thing I like about the Pan-African community, the Pan-Africanist community, or whatever, is how we all can answer these questions differently. Because I know quite a few people who would agree strongly, and I know quite a few people who disagree strongly. But we're all still working on the same goal, and that's really something that's powerful. So you said disagree strongly, and I appreciate that.
A seasoned general in their prime is worth more than 100 soldiers. I disagree a little. Because a seasoned general in their prime is still actively engaged in battles and warfare, and he's not explaining or transferring the knowledge to the 100 soldiers. So since he's not transferring the knowledge to the 100 soldiers, they just become frontline, they become frontline targets. They don't become resources. A seasoned general beyond their prime that's able to train and give explanations and pull out, and as the Christian world would say, exegete, meaning and definition to tactics and strategies in warfare, is worth more than 100 soldiers, but not one that's in their prime, because in their prime, they are still actively engaged in warfare, and soldiers are just taking orders from them.
Okay, all right, I mean, all right. So let me try to be past my prime before before people start making a calculus on my life. No, I'm joking. All right, so
you already identified yourself as past your prime when you said to 30, because you're like, I'm over 30, so like this ain't gonna affect me. So
I appreciate that.
Identified yourself as past your prime.
I appreciate that, but I mean, I know a lot of people saying, wait a second, this dude's not a general, so now I'm just gonna leave it at that. So this is the last question, so hope you're ready. You said disagree a little, right?
Yes.
All right, let's see the results. Congratulate. Oh, you want to read it?
Congratulations, you completed the quiz. You are the community teacher.
All right.
There are two types of teachers, those who teach children and those who teach adults. You are the former. This is a necessary step for the latter. All the talk about solving African people's problems start with you. Gather like minds for this enormous task.
All right.
Recommended readings: The Pro-Black Compendium, which was my first Onitaset book. That's what led me here. African Philosophy, The Pharaonic Period, and of course, The Book of Power, which
Let's
was
go.
my second Onitaset book.
Let's go! Anyway. So, yeah, these books... Oh, yeah, you can keep reading, I guess, so people can know why I recommended them.
These books will highlight easy ways to engage young people, or why.
There you go. So, yeah, I feel like it's actually not quite... It's nice. It's a good result because you are involved in like being with like minds for this enormous task of teaching children. So, contrary to what people may have thought, this book is. I mean, sorry, this quiz did. I feel like it does capture a part of your personality. At least.
Absolutely does, because I didn't tell you that I volunteer with children in my community. That's a part of my further work. I try to coordinate and collaborate with different resources in my local community to engage children so that they understand things differently. Because again, that education, that complement to whatever ideology they're being subjected to for the 6 to 8 hours a day you have to go to work and make money, has to be combated in the home every day. Because every
Absolutely.
day, for 6 to 12, for 6 to 8, and sometimes 12 hours a day, your children are at war. And if you don't explain that to them and give them tools to equip them for the battle, they will be lost. I know I was before I had an understanding of what my problems were.
Okay, so yeah. So what would I say about this? Oh yeah, community teacher. Oh, so I guess African philosophy. You might not be familiar with that book. That's a good book. It's by Theophile Obenga. It's like basically all these books are based off of all the results are based off of the 13 books in the back of uh, the Book of Power, as well as all of the jobs or all of the the community teacher, blah blah blah. They're based off of the different those different like occupations in a sense in the back of the Book of Power. I also want to say, oh, actually, there is an African that I could mention who was a nice community teacher, and that is Marva Collins. If you're not familiar, people at home, if they're not familiar with Marva Collins, definitely check out her. There's a I want to say movie about her that features I want to say I can't remember her name, but I think it's like Diane Carroll, or maybe not Diane Carroll, but this famous actress who plays as Marva Collins, and it's just like one of the best movies. This is a woman who designs. Let me see if I could look it up pretty quickly. This is a woman who designs a school in her like backyard or something. Oh no, sorry, in her upstairs floor, and eventually she's just like accepted by like she's eventually invited by even Ronald Reagan to be the National Secretary of Education. She gets kids who were considered to be uh like learning like not necessarily learning as quickly as other people. Cicely Tyson, that's what Cicely Tyson and Morgan Freeman are in the movie, right? So she gets these kids and she just gets them like they're going from like illiterate or whatever to like 10th grade reading levels, and they're like 7 or something. So she's a really impressive lady, and she had a website about her own pedagogy and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check it out. Now, I do not think she's African centered, but she is like phenomenal in the sense of being able to like really care for our people. So that's another thing. But as far as African philosophy, the Pharaonic period goes, that's a really good book on African philosophy as it relates to ancient African philosophy, but also contemporary modern African philosophy. So you get to see like the different aspects of our being and our people, and like what we could accomplish or what we accomplished. And so I definitely recommend reading these 3 books, and especially since you already read 2 of them. So, but that's actually the whole survey. I'm mad it was so short, but I wonder what everybody else is thinking at home. Thank you for all the likes, by the way, and all the subscriptions. Bitter Medicine Podcast says LOL. But what do you think, sis? What do you think about this whole process of this? Or what do you think about the result? What do you think about the? What do you think about anything? Like let's hear it before we have to sign off.
Think that this is an excellent quiz to give you some tools to get on your way and to be on your path. For me, this was a very true and authentic quiz, and this result resonates with me deeply because that is what I do. I am about teaching, even on my podcast. I try to break down words that we understand the meaning of these words and what people are actually saying. have oftentimes understandings that are incorrect and inappropriate for our liberation. We're engaging with these people even to this day. Um, and so this resonates deeply with me. I think that this is very useful. And even in mentioning Marva Collins, everything is useful. And like you said, to take her tactics and her strategies to attach it to my goal is something that's very useful.
Yeah, definitely. Check out the movie. It's a really good movie. What else can I say though? Oh yeah, I'm hoping maybe I can learn to program a little bit better and I can make it into a website and then maybe I could like keep people's results and like so that people who get the same, the same results in a sense or the same conclusions, can like have like some sort of way to connect or something, because not everybody's going to get the same results. Some people get uh, different. Like one of the options is probably like military engineer or something, or whatever. So it's like you'd want people who are about community teaching, to be with people who are about community teaching, and then people who are about military training or military engineering, be about military engineering and all that kind of stuff. So I hope I could probably make it to a website, and maybe if I don't, I don't. But yeah, I like this. I thought this was great, and hopefully you can come onto the channel another time. Even but otherwise, if people want to hear you again, let us know again, like how we can get into contact or how we can hear from you.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on my socials at R Matron or Revolutionary Matron on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email me if you have a question or want to set up a chat at revolutionarymatron@gmail.com. And I am still developing some content for my podcast. The goal is to release every Monday. And you can always meet me on the Discord. If you're out here on the Discord, you can join me, find me on the Discord in Oni's Pan-African room and in Bitter Medicine's podcast room, broadcast room, and send me a message if you want to go live talk or chat about anything.
There you go. Remember, guys, revolutionary matron at gmail.com. And of course, you come to the Bitter Medicine Podcast Discord or you come to my Discord and you can get it. But other than that, I appreciate it so much. I do want to shout out Bitter Medicine as well. Obviously, I want to shout out the Harsh Reality Podcast. They have some new stuff. KWZ Radio, always a pleasure. And of course, the Queen's Council. Those are all excellent. But otherwise, I want to say appreciation to the other people who commented who were Organic African Paradigm. That's Scully. Make sure you guys check out Scully's site. I'm a bookman of Ike Ole. I can't remember how to pronounce it. I'd have to read it. But, I'm a bookman. You can check out her stuff. And then, of course, son of Oludumare. Let me look up a bookman before I get in trouble. Ile Echo Omoluabi, right? So check out that channel as well. So make sure you guys check out those channels. And thank you everybody for listening. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Revolutionary Matron, for entertaining this quiz that, I need to do a little more work on. But other than that, I appreciate everybody. And I'll talk to everybody again another time. Shem Yem Hotep.
Hotep.
All right. I think that was good.